Привет, друзья! Welcome back to Be Fluent in Russian podcast. My name is Fedor. Let's continue talking about Ahmatova. We have the second text today, and that's a bit more complicated than the first that we had last week. So, let's get right into this and talk about Ahmatova a little bit more. Learn about a story of hers. В 1930-е годы в СССР начались массовые репрессии. Людей арестовывали внезапно, часто ночью, без объяснений. Сын Анны Ахматовой, Лев Гумилёв, был арестован, и поэтесса каждый день приходила к ленинградской тюрьме Кресты. Там собирались сотни женщин. Они стояли в длинных очередях, иногда по много часов, в любую погоду. Женщины приносили передачи, но не знали, примут ли их и жив ли человек внутри. Разговаривать было опасно. Все боялись доносов. Эта очередь стала символом общего горя. В ней не было известных и неизвестных. Все были равны перед страхом. Однажды женщина узнала Ахматову и тихо спросила, сможет ли она написать об этом времени и об этих людях? Ответ «смогу» был очень важным. Так Ахматова взяла на себя роль свидетеля эпохи. Позже именно этот опыт стал основой поэмы «Реквием». Okay. Now, your thoughts might be, okay, I didn't get anything from that text and I'm discouraged. Don't be discouraged if you didn't get anything. If you got a few words here and there, that's also a success. If you understood the main idea, that's great. That's incredible. Now, if you understood it all, maybe with an exception of one or two words, then that's even better. But regardless of where your understanding fell, you can still learn a whole lot from this. So, let's dissect it and talk about it word by word. В 1930-е годы, in the 1930s. And in fact, if you want to follow along with the text, you have it in the description to this podcast. So you can just read the text as I'm explaining this stuff. В СССР начались массовые репрессии. In USSR, there were mass repressions or mass punishments. Репрессии is when, I guess repression, maybe it's a good word in English, I'm not sure, I never heard it before, but repressie is when people were massively arrested, punished for something. In the 1930s, this is in fact very common all across the earlier USSR years as well, is when you were considered to be the enemy of the people. It's when you had different ideas from USSR. Is if you were doubting USSR, because at that point the communism that was widespread in USSR, not communism in general, that particular communism regime was very fragile, meaning that they needed people to believe what they were saying. And if you have a person who goes against that popular belief and then he influences others, that was considered to be a great danger. And so even your neighbors sometimes, even people you knew sometimes, could report to the party that you are so-and-so, that you are saying this and that, and they can just take you, arrest you, or just execute you, depending on the severity of your situation. So that's массовые репрессии, mass, I guess, arrests and punishments, репрессии. I guess, maybe repression is a word. Людей арестовывали внезапно. People were arrested suddenly. Внезапно means suddenly, without a warning. Внезапно. And of course, арестовывали were arrested. Часто ночью, often at night. Без объяснений, without explanations. Without объяснений, explanations. Сын Анны Ахматовой, the son of Anna Ахматова, Лев Гумилёв, his name is Lev Gumilёv, last name Gumilёv. I'm not sure why he didn't take Ahmatova's last name, maybe she was not married to the father, был арестован, so he was arrested. И поэтесса каждый день, and the poet, of course, Анна Ахматова, каждый день, every day, приходила, would come к ленинградской тюрьме, to the Leningrad or St. Petersburg now prison. Кресты. Кресты is the name of the prison. So she would come every day to the walls of this prison. And там собирались сотни женщин. Hundreds of women would accumulate there or would come there. Why is it only женщин, women? Well, because a lot of the husbands were taken. So the father of the son couldn't come because maybe he himself was also arrested, and etc. So it was primarily women. Они стояли в длинных очередях. They stood in long lines. Иногда по много часов, sometimes for many hours. В любую погоду, in any weather. Женщины приносили передачи. The women would bring packages to the arrested. Но не знали, but didn't know, примут ли их, if they would be accepted, и жив ли человек внутри, and whether the person inside is even alive. There was a big kind of shadow of secrecy at that time. Why did they come and arrest somebody at night? Well, they didn't want anybody to know what was happening. And also, they wanted people to be scared. And in fact, let me see if that's going to be in the next. No, it was not. Okay, yeah. So, this in fact is true about Ahmatova as well, that there are stories that she would be going to sleep dressed and she would have her bags packed. If somebody comes to arrest her, because she was a poet, she was writing about this stuff, she would just get her bag and go with the police. So she was anticipating that they would arrest her as well, but she was not arrested. So yeah, that was the kind of vibe of that time, which was terrifying. And that's what the party wanted. They wanted those who are going against them to be terrified. And through that fear, they controlled them. Which is very insane to think about. While there are some extreme positives about the Soviet Union time, mostly involving people though, not the regime, not the party like ruling and things like that, but mostly people who suffered together, who worked through this together. That was the main kind of driver of a lot of positive things that were happening in Soviet Union. You had things like this that were just immensely negative, that sometimes you think, how could that have ever happened, But it did. So разговаривать было опасно. It was dangerous to talk. Все боялись доносов. Everybody was afraid of reports. And this is the thing that I was describing in the beginning, where people would just report about you saying stuff that went against the party. So you wouldn't talk. I mean, if you're coming to see the arrested, then talking about stuff would really be dangerous, right? Эта очередь стала символом общего горя. This line became a symbol of mutual suffering. A line of women, of course, trying to see their arrested loved ones. В ней не было известных и неизвестных. In it, there were no famous and not famous, or known or not known. Все были равны перед страхом. Everybody was equal before the fear. Before the fear, everybody was an equal. Однажды, once, женщина узнала Ахматову. The woman recognized Ahmatova. И тихо спросила, and asked quietly, сможет ли она написать, could she write, об этом времени и об этих людях, about this time and about these people. Ответ «смогу», the answer of «yes, I will be able to», был очень важным, was very important. Так Ахматова взяла на себя, and that's how Ahmatova took upon herself Роль свидетеля эпохи. The role of the witness of this era. Like a role of the witness, yeah. Позже, later, именно этот опыт, this precise experience, стал основой поэмы Requiem, became the foundation of the poem Requiem. And we'll read this poem in 2 weeks, so we're going to have this podcast. Then the next week is going to be another topic, and then after that, we'll have Ahmatova's poem that we'll break down. And we're going to take this Requiem because it's been mentioned twice now, last week and then this week as well. But that is all. Hope you've learned something useful from this short story. And if you want to learn more and more in depth, of course, as always, Be Fluent is your friend. It's our own platform. We design everything on that platform, every course, every word. We do it all. Check it out with the first link in the description, and I'll see you all there. Пока-пока.